of stainless steel called high-speed powdered steel. It was originally designed for power tools, like saws and drills, because of its durability and strength. Two qualities Japanese chef's knives are known for today. Once the metal is cut, it's heated in an electric oven to harden and strengthen the blade. Then the hammering begins. At this point, the artisan relies on experience and instinct to guide them in producing a blade of ideal strength and thinness. Hammering leaves behind circular indents, something knife makers in the past typically polished away. But 60 years ago, Terukazu's father and his colleagues discovered the benefit of knives with a textured surface like this.
まあさっきみたいにこう単像トントントントンとしてもう表面結構デコボコになりますよね。でそのままではダメなんできれいに磨いて普通はきれいに焼き入れをして研いで磨いてその方が物がくっつかなかった。じゃがいもであるとか人参であるとかピタッとくっついてなかなか取れないのにデコボコだったらポロポロ取れる。
This hammered finish, called tuchime, allowed chefs to chop ingredients quickly and more efficiently. It also added a beautiful aesthetic to each blade, another element highly valued in Japanese knives.
今世界中でも土目の入った包丁ってやってますよね。
But a Japanese chef's knife wouldn't be nearly as valuable without a supremely sharp edge. An artisan presses the blade against a rough grindstone made of natural rock, a sharpening material you'll only see used in Japan. This step distinguishes an artisan's skill and ultimately sets a knife's final value.
手にかかる微妙な力と音と感覚で研いでいくんですけども、そこは一丁ずつやっぱり違ってくるし、砥石の状態も一丁研いだら変わってくるんですね。一丁ずつ変わってくる。叩き3年、叩きって言うんですね。作業こっちの手で叩き3年で研ぎはまあ一生まあずっと勉強だ。
It takes one full day to sharpen the blade and another full day to secure and polish the handle. The final knife is totally unique, each with its own distinct balance, thickness, and design.
あと包丁って自分の料理人の方がよく言うんですけど、自分の手の延長になってほしい。でそのためにやっぱりそういった工夫ですかね。やっぱりまずバランスがもう自分のここの一番包丁の先端が自分がどこを当てたいか当てたいところにマット持っていけると指の先のような扱いができる包丁。
Several of the world's best chefs use Takamura's knives, from René Redzepi at Noma to Massimo Bottura at Osteria Francescana. Another one of those chefs is Masakazu Fuji. He uses Takamura's knives to prepare fish at his restaurant Fuku.
おそらくアーティストのライブでメインのギターがなんだとかっていう風になってもサブであったり、ギターテックがいたりしてやる人間っていうのは演奏する人間っていうのはそれに集中できる。でそれを高村さんが今してくれている話ですね。この切ったところから表面にこう光沢が出てる。でこれって切れない包丁でやったら全くこういうのは出てこない。でそれをストレスなく切ると、こういう感じで切ったところから今にももうこう溢れようとする。でも止まってる。でそれを口の中で歯で噛んだら出る。
Echizen has been the center of high-quality knife making since blacksmiths began crafting chef's knives here 700 years ago. And today, the city is internationally recognized for its cutlery production. But before knives, artisans made swords, another valuable trade in Japanese culture.
ところが日本の刀って細いです。なぜ折れないかっていうと 真ん中に柔らかい鉄が入っています。そして外側に硬い鋼で覆うと二重構造になってるんで折れないんですね。で、日本の包丁はその、技術を生かして真ん中に鋼を入れて両側から柔らかい鉄でくるむ。
Despite dedicating decades to this craft, Terukazu and his brothers weren't always set on becoming master knife makers.
弟もその一番下の弟も3人ともこの仕事をやってるんですけども、この仕事をやりたいとか、これ僕なんかだったらロック歌手になりたいとか、弟だったらオートバイのレーサーになりたいとか、やっぱり、ある程度の年代が来て本当に自分の今までの僕が育てたこの、背景とかそういったあと自分がうちが作ってるこの包丁とかをこう見ていくとやっぱり俺はこれをやるべきだよ、これをやらなあかんねやなというのと、やっぱこれをやりたいなという気持ちがやっぱり出てくるので。
Professional chef or not, getting your hands on one of Takemoto's knives will take years. With that kind of weight strength, coupled with the decades of training required to master this craft, it's likely these pieces will remain costly for years to come.
Last round
そう
in
で
the
すね、やっ
half.
ぱり、本当にこういう価値のある、もちろん時間もかかるわけですから、まあ本当に申し訳ないんですけどもやっぱり、2年半とかそれくらい待っていただいた方も、おられます。でもやっぱり使って本当にそれができた時に待っててよかった、もうこれ使ったら他の包丁はもう全然使えないとか、まあ本当に嬉しいことです。
The green paste you've been eating with your sushi isn't really wasabi. Check the ingredients on the packet and you might see a mixture of sweetener, horseradish, and perhaps a small percentage of the real thing. Real wasabi is hard to come across, and it can cost $250 per kilo. So what actually is wasabi, and why is it so expensive? Wasabi is a small green plant in the Brassica family. That means it's related to many cheap and easy to find plants like horseradish, cabbage or broccoli. But unlike this, it's incredibly expensive. A kilogram of fresh wasabi can cost you 25 times as much as fresh horseradish. The main reason for this huge price is down to the process of growing it. Wasabi is known for being the hardest plant to grow commercially in the world. The only place in the world where it can be found growing naturally is alongside Japanese mountain streams, where it has the very specific conditions it needs to thrive. Wasabi needs a constant supply of running spring water. It likes a shady area and rocky soil or gravel, and it can only tolerate a temperature of around 8 to 20 degrees Celsius all year round. Too much humidity or the wrong minerals can also cause problems for the plant, and on top of that, it's susceptible to pests and disease. While wasabi is still mostly grown in Japan, the Wasabi Company was the first to grow wasabi commercially in Europe.
We're watercress farmers. That's what we've been doing for a long time, and we tried several different things, and wasabi came to us via a chef who was visiting a watercress farm and said the only thing I've ever seen growing like this, watercress grows in flowing water in gravel beds, he said was wasabi growing in Japan. All of our beds flow with natural spring water that comes out of the ground from artesian springs. When the water comes out of the ground, 40 meters below, it's
Last
at 10,
player
11
standing.
degrees. Obviously, it warms in the summer as it goes through the bed and it cools, but it has a very effective balancing effect on the extremes of it. And we cover the beds with shade net so that we keep the worst of the winter cold and the summer sun off the plant.
When all the conditions are just right, wasabi still takes around 18 months before it can be harvested. And it's still a time-consuming process because absolutely everything has to be done by hand.
The harvesting will be done by hand, and then it's a laborious process to break it apart, the whole plant, and then clean up the rhizomes. There's no machine that's gonna help you pull this out of the ground and trim it up fit for the sushi counter. After our 18 months, we harvest our wasabi, and this is a stem, sometimes called a rhizome, but more botanically correct is to call it a stem, formed as the leaves drop away. The remaining part of the leaf creates a stem. And we get our special grater, which is very, very fine teeth. You can see that it doesn't have any holes at the back. We're not after really grating the wasabi, we're after tasting. We don't go too fast because we want to break it down at the cellular level. And if you're not seeing it break in front of you, then it's very unlikely.
You fought well.
So what does real wasabi taste like? And is it really that different from the paste that we're used to?
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
It was a bit more gentle, a little bit more like earthy, kind of almost like a sweet aftertaste on that one. The aftertaste is way more pleasant on the real one than it is on the fake one.
The fake one, I kind of just taste mustard and horseradish, and the real one tastes like wasabi, but I don't get those undertones.
It's a completely different thing. It tastes so much more like a vegetable. It tastes earthy. I mean, it's really nice.
There's one other reason